Okay, welcome back to the second video, and let's take a look at what we can do next. We can work on the eyeballs, very simple. Boom, sphere, job done. Move it up, let's position it, and we want to rotate it so it's facing us, so that means it's 90 degrees. And if you take a look at the eyeball, or the sphere really, that's what it is basically. If you take a look at the resolution, we're going to the inputs here, and it defaults at 20, and maybe just drop it down to 16. I think that'll do. And so let's just position it a bit better. Maybe something like that. There we go. Now, if we take a look, his pupil is there, and so if we spin it round, we can kind of match it. There we go. And also, let's have a look. World. So we want to move in this forward direction, and let's take a look. Maybe like that. It depends how much you want his eyeball to be sticking out. To be honest. If you get confused, you can always just, let's have a look, just put it back to, let's go into world mode, and when you rotate, sometimes, if you take a look at the channel box here, rotate X, Y, Z, they all rotate at the same time, that's what I wanted to say, at the same time. That's known as gimbal lock. So you only want to rotate on one axis, but all three axes are moving. There you go. So in this situation, just go back to 0, because sometimes it just complicates the geometry. And then now let's rotate towards us. And as you can see, only one axis is rotating, which is what you want. So let's hit 90. So we basically kind of started again on the rotation because it was going a bit crazy. So what you should do is actually position the eye first. So there, let's just say we are happy with this. And what you can do is click on this little snowflake here, boom, and it just zeroes everything out. And so we know that this is the original position of the eyeball. And so now, hopefully, if we move it around, I'm going to go into object mode, let's see what happens. And I'm rotating it in all axes, so all three are moving, which is fine. Now, if I want to rotate it just in one axis, there we go, just one axis is moving, which is what we want. So we can say move there, then down, and as you can see, it's working fine now. And so what we can do is just rotate this to the side like this, and just down a little bit, and there you go. That is the position of his eye. And if you just want to take a look what it looks like on the other side, do a Control D, which means you've duplicated it there. Control G, which means you put it in a group, and it says group there. And the reason I put it in a group is because it places the pivot in the center of the scene. And when the pivot is in the center of the scene, it allows you to mirror an object over the scene, or the border. As you can see, you have the vertical line here and horizontal lines, so they're like the borders of the scene, and these are like the 4 quadrants. And so we actually want to mirror this over the border, and so to do that we want to go in this direction, which is X. So scale X -1, boom, there you go. We have both eyes, and this is positioned slightly, it's more or less the same, but you can just play around with it. And one thing you have to be mindful of is the fact that we placed it in a group. So if you hit up arrow key, you got a group. And what you can do is go to edit and just ungroup it, because the group was just temporary. It was just so we could place the pivot in the center of the scene and do the mirror. And another thing you realize is when you mirror something, you get a negative number, which isn't a big problem, but it could be for certain cases like texturing, especially if you're going to bring this into ZBrush, and ZBrush doesn't read negative numbers. So what happens is your model is like inside out and stuff, and then it's not a big deal. You can actually just punch a couple of buttons in ZBrush and it just flips it over. But just so that you're aware that this is -1. So what you can do to get rid of the negative numbers is select the rotate fields, press 0, boom, just so it's facing us, and then freeze transformations, boom. So everything is zeroed and the negative number has now disappeared. And now what you can do is just move this eyeball into position, kind of like that. So I'll do it one more time just to show you. So I moved across there and then down a little bit and across a bit more and down a little bit like that, and there you have it. So we have the two eyeballs done. Alright, so that's the end of this video, and I will see you next video.